And we have an expert on fresh legs.
Yes, we do.
In right now. So
come on in, Coach.
You don't even have a chair for me.
Yeah. Where's his chair?
I'll just hang out with you.
and you'll still look good.
All right, Coach Stotts is joining us on Trailblazers Courtside now. Coach, thanks for we appreciate you coming in studio and doing this.
Hey, my pleasure.
There's not many coaches, believe me, that would come in after that game last night and getting ready for Clippers in Houston.
That's one of the other reasons I was so glad that the Blazers pulled it out, because I thought we don't want to have Coach in after a loss, and this way he'll be in a great mood. I know, but I thought it would be a little more fun if we were talking.
And that game, even with a loss, it wouldn't have been as hard to take the way both teams performed.
Oh, believe me, if we had lost that, come on.
Yeah, right. You're right.
The second guesser would have been out there, so that's part of the deal.
Yes.
But a great game and a memorable game, and the way you guys played, and it was similar to the game 3.5 weeks ago or so that you played against them, in that you have a lead and trying to get control. They're a quick strike offense. Curry, Thompson can bring them back. We saw it again. But the Blazers, I think, showed some people something. They showed us something with some guts to come out and pull it out, even with those guys hitting from everywhere. It was a similar game in some ways, but the fact that you pulled it out made it a little bit different.
It's very similar to the previous game that we played them, no question. And, having L.A. was a major difference.
Yes.
And, we had some great possessions. They ended up getting a rebound and kicking out for a three. And Steph Curry did what he does. And it was an exciting game. Obviously, I'm glad we won it and how we won it and the perseverance that we showed. And, like I told the team before the game, I thought it was a good playoff prep game for us.
And probably guys like Lillard need that type.
Well, and you guys have been around, and it was a great atmosphere, but it was not a playoff atmosphere. It's just hard to experience that unless you've been through it. But that being said, both teams were competing at a high level, and we've had a lot of big games this year, and we've had the Moda Center's been rocking, and that part of it is very similar. But the every possession, value possession, and as the series goes on, it becomes more and more so. So it was a good prelude to the playoffs.
The one thing that you noticed too on that game, early in the season, it was Damian, kind of a clear-out, high pick and roll. And that's still probably your go-to play late in the game. But Nick Batum hit a huge three. Wes hit a huge three. There was some good defensive plays. Robin Lopez hit a great top-of-the-key jumper, a little bit outside where he normally see his range. We know he has it. He hit it. LaMarcus hit the top-of-the-key shot. So it wasn't just one guy carrying you late. Was it designed that way, or were you going with some of the similar calls late, the high pick and roll with a lot of options?
Well, just going through some of the things that you talked about. Nick hit a corner three out of a baseline out of bounds play. Robin hit the free throw line jumper because earlier in the game they were fronting L.A. and he was kind of dribbling around out there, and everybody was talking to him, hey, be ready to either take the shot or swing it, and he was ready to make that play. The shot L.A. hit was a design play that either they guard Damian or they guard LaMarcus. We had a lot of action going on the baseline. So, and Wes had a terrific game, and Wes makes. I don't run a lot of things. We don't run a lot of things for Wes, but he manages to find shots, or the ball finds him. And
was that final shot of regulation designed for him?
Well, there were.
Just a read?
Well, it was a read. You had Wes coming off, and he came open. And it's a tough call for Nick because we had three options. You got Wes coming open first, you got Damian on a flare, and then you got L.A. coming back to the ball. And so and then if L.A. gets it, he's got a hand back to Nick. So there were multiple options on it. And as the inbounder, you don't want to get stuck. And so Wes was open. He passed it to Wes, and I really think if Wes hadn't been open, L.A. or Damian would have been open, something else would have popped open.
Do you think your team is equipped now because you're so balanced for the playoffs? You have balanced scoring. Do you think it will be more difficult for a team really to game plan for you guys because you can do some different things with different people?
I think it helps us to have multiple options. You talk about teams that – Houston being one of them, that Dwight Howard and James Harden. But they have other guys who can make plays, and that makes it difficult. When you have a team, I don't know if there's one pure formula for winning regular season or playoff games. But you play a team like Golden State, and Steph Curry and Klay Thompson obviously are the keys to their team. Damian and LaMarcus are keys to our team. Obviously, we're 8 out of 9 since LA came back. That makes a difference. The other players profit from having the great players on your team on the floor. So what I like is that we've continued to play better since LA came back, and our offense is clicking a little bit better, and it's good that we have some momentum coming. And there's no set, like I said, there's no set formula, but I like where we are.
Before we take the break, I want to sneak one question in. We've invited fans to send some questions in on Twitter. You can hashtag TB Courtside. One question we've gotten a lot, and I'm sure you will get a lot. Are you going to double team Howard in the post? We know you guys don't double team much. You've shown it a little bit at times.
You're not going to give us the game plan, right?
No, but that's a general question, I think.
All right.
I think we have to have it in the game plan. It's we have to have a game plan for Harden and his pick and rolls and his ISOs, and we have to have a game plan for Howard, and if we want to double him, and how we want to double him, and when we want to double him. So we will have that prepared. As far as going into the series, we'll talk with our coaching staff. We'll watch video, but I think it's important to have those things ready so when the time comes, we're ready to do it.
And that's the funny thing last night. I'm sure you aren't just going to start getting ready for Houston now. This has been going on because this has been a likely scenario, even though I know you don't like to look ahead.
No, we don't look ahead, but, we were going to play the Clippers or Houston, and really this has been a luxury for us, the fact that we know on Sunday who we're going to play next Saturday or Sunday. Yeah. Ordinarily, it's Tuesday or Wednesday before you know who you're going to play, and then it's like cramming for an exam because you're trying to get all this information available and decide what you want to do right away.
Well, and I know another nice thing is by you winning, you've made Houston continue to have to play their guys, and they can't rest them, and they have a big game with San Antonio going on tonight. So that's another side benefit is they can't just they don't have two meaningless games left. They have tonight and they have New Orleans, and if they don't win tonight, they've got to win the New Orleans game. So it keeps them having to
keeps them playing. And we have our scout John McCullough is at the game in Houston, and if Houston loses this game, then he'll follow them because they have to win in New Orleans. So it'll give us some good prep as far as not only live scouting, but we'll be able to watch them and see what they do when they need to win games.
All right, we'll take a break here on Trailblazers Courtside. The head coach, Terry Stotts, is with us until the top of the hour. As we said, we're going to ask him questions, and you're welcome to as well. Just send us a tweet and hashtag TB Courtside. We'll get it, and we'll pick a few out, hopefully each segment, and we'll ask the coach. We'll come back with more right after this. The traditional Ruben Boomshay shot as we return to our Moda Center studios. And look at Coach Stotts supporting the Mike and Mike shirt campaign. We appreciate that, Coach. A portion of the proceeds, I don't think you've worn it since, but you're too nice a guy to say you haven't. A portion of the proceeds go to benefit Portland Metropolitan Boys and Girls Clubs. So anyway, Coach Stotts with us in studio until 7 o'clock here on Trailblazers Courtside tonight. Coach, we talked about it a little bit during the break. I've gotten some questions about, an article today Jason Quick wrote talking about Damian Lillard and calling him out a little bit, and kind of felt that, to put him in the same category as a young Zach Randolph, I'm not sure how fair that was, to immediately say in the open, kind of saying that the Blazers need to find out if you're the guy to lead the team in the future. There were some interesting things. I don't know how much you want to comment on it, but what were your thoughts?
Well, look, everybody's entitled to their opinion. I'm not sure whether they know what's going on behind the scenes or not. I wasn't here with Zach, but I do know what a professional Damian is for 2 years. I mean, he's on time. He works his butt off. He competes. He plays every night. And I don't want to disparage Zach Randolph, but I personally didn't care for the article. I didn't like the light that it put Damian in. Granted, he had a couple turnovers at the end of the first half and went too early on one possession. But to castigate him in that fashion, I didn't care for it. And I thought it was unfair because what Damian has accomplished up to this point in his career has been remarkable. And I think to disparage that was unfair.
The chemistry of your team is remarkable.
Well, it is.
How could you,
I don't know, I think our locker room is great. And I think our camaraderie, our chemistry, what we've done this season, we would not have accomplished had not been for the camaraderie and our chemistry of our team. And there are going to be bumps along the way. One of the things I'm really proud of with this team is we navigated through 2 very difficult periods of the season. You know, when we lost Dallas and Houston in very close games, and then we lose to Memphis and San Antonio, and then come back and beat New Orleans in a must-win game without LaMarcus and without Mo Williams. And then after the Orlando game, when the balance of the season was really in question, we come back and win 8 out of 9. I thought that showed a lot of character, and our locker room is very tight. Our players play well together; they get along together, and Damian Lillard is obviously a big part of that.
Fun guys to coach, I would imagine.
Well, they are. You know, it's when you have we have a mix, but we have a young roster of 8 guys in their first or second year, so that makes the development of young players for our assistant coaches in particular, working with those guys every day and keeping them motivated and improving them. The other guys who have been in the league for a while, and to have a 50-win season, like this is Earl Watson's his only second 50-win season, and he's been in the league 12, 13 years. So he's relishing this, and same with Darrell in L.A. And so, the whole roster has enjoyed it. It's been fun to coach, and it's been a great ride.
And needless to say, you treat all players the same when it comes to letting them know what their mistakes are and things like that.
Well, Coach, there's sometimes you have to.
There's a LeBron and
you have to. It's like your kids. You gotta teach. You have to approach them the right way. And look, one of the things that I'm really proud of this team is that they're very professional. They're on time. They come to work every day, and everybody goes by the same rules. And you coach individuals different because they're different guys.
Yes.
But I think there's been accountability up and down the line, and I think everybody would agree with that.
Yes.
A little bit of a macro view, 20-win improvement over last year, 33 wins and now 53, with a chance, with a win on Wednesday, to have the greatest one-season turnaround in franchise history. That's pretty amazing. You and Neil O'Shea obviously have a good relationship. The guys that Neil brought in, most notably, Robin Lopez, there's been talking. Mo Williams has been terrific. He had a great game last night. But that is a heck of an accomplishment. No matter what happens the rest of the way, to have a 20-game improvement over one season is huge.
It is. And, there have been other turnarounds in the NBA. A lot of times, most of the time, it's by bringing in all-stars.
The big 3 in Boston.
Exactly. And that's with all due respect to Robin and Darrell and Mo Williams and Thomas. But, what we've done this year has been something to be very proud of, and we all are. But one of the things I really like about this team is that we're very proud of what we've done so far this season, and as well we should be. But we're not satisfied, and we're looking to go beyond. We've already done things that people didn't think that we could, and now we're looking forward to what we can do in the playoffs.
Speaking of the playoffs, Adam Silver had an idea of the future in the playoffs, and if you look at Denver, New Orleans, and the Timberwolves with their injuries, all right, and if they were healthy, the West would possibly have 13 teams with better records than maybe only the top 2 of the East could match. And he says that we should have in the future the best 16 teams in the playoffs with the best 16 records. What do you feel about that?
It's really a difficult proposition because one thing, the tradition of having 2 conferences, having a conference champion, in Europe you have, whether it's in soccer or basketball, you have one division, and that 16-team division, the top 8, whatever, make the playoffs. Well, we have a 30-team league. There's no penalty for going down. I like the idea of having of reconfiguring the playoff schedule. I just don't know how it works. Without taking away from the tradition of the Eastern Conference champion and Western Conference champion. If you sort them 1 through 16, that's gone. If you take the bottom, let's say Minnesota and whoever doesn't make it in the West, and send them over into the East. Now, what happens if they end up winning the Eastern Conference championship? Let's say Phoenix ends up winning the Eastern Conference championship. I don't know. You have to balance the tradition of the league. You're going to have, we're in a run right now where the Western Conference is extremely strong. I happened to benefit from it in 2006 when in Milwaukee we made the playoffs as the 8th seed with 40 wins, and that was a struggle, and we were glad to make the playoffs. And so I don't know what the answer is. I know that some very good teams will not be in the playoffs, but I don't know what the remedy is.
Yeah. Your questions on Twitter, hashtag TB Courtside. Jeff asks, it was successful versus Memphis and Golden State to get up the court early, force tempo before the defenses got set. Will that be a strategy against Houston?
It's a delicate balance with Houston because they are one of the better transition teams in the league.
5th best at pace-wise.
Right. And and we're not necessarily an up-and-down team. We pick our spots. I firmly believe that you cannot afford to not try to get easy baskets. Easy baskets are hard to come by, particularly in the playoffs. So I want to push the pace if we can get easy baskets, but I think our transition defense is going to be more important than our transition offense. So where the give and take is with that is going to be a balance.
Yeah, and that's game planning, taking away their strengths and adding to your strengths. I think it's all getting ready for every situation in the playoffs.
Right. I mean, you look at the 2 wins against Chicago and Memphis, who are slow-down teams. Obviously, we wanted to push it and not play against their half-court defense. Then you play against a team like Phoenix, who excels in that type of game, and you can't get caught up in that style. And Houston, to some degree, is that same style.
All right, we'll take a break. We'll get back to some of your questions, some of ours as well. The head coach, Terry Stotts, joining us here. Blazers wrapping up the regular season on Wednesday against the Clippers. And as you can tell, we've moved right into the playoff talk with the Trailblazers having their first-round opponent set against Houston. We'll take a break here on Trailblazers Courtside from our Moda Center studios on Comcast Sportsnet and Rip City Radio, 620 AM, also on Trailblazers.com. Rich, one more break. Today in the Northwest, had a string of them here, and hopefully that'll continue as head coach Terry Stotts joining us. Myers Leonard's got his white shirt.
How many people did you give that T-shirt to?
This is the night of a few.
Anybody that you could get a camera on.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We continue. Oh, look at this. That's an old school Mike and Mike shirt. That's like 4 years ago. And aren't they in France? Look, I made it to France. Duck jacket and an old school now. And the Rice is on the back of that shirt.
Yeah.
So we didn't get to see that.
Did you flip to see who got heads and tails?
No,
they just made it.
Says,
We didn't even know they were making them.
What's it? Something.
Business in the front and party on the back.
Party on the back.
You were on the back.
Yeah. Had him on the back. Coach, some tough news this afternoon about Andrew Bogut breaking a rib in the game last night. We saw him go out, saw the play, and in fact, we'll show it to you if you haven't seen it. It was just kind of a collision inside where Robin Lopez kind of gets him on the left side of your screen in the middle, and then Aldridge from the front. And I couldn't tell if it was Robin's left arm or we couldn't see LaMarcus's right arm. Bogut went down hard, and we understand he had X-rays here last night, and then the Warriors released that he has a fractured rib and he's out indefinitely. So in a big-time game like that, in a rough ball game, stuff happens, but tough news for the Warriors.
Does that make you think about the Clipper game coming up, about who to play and who not to play?
Me?
Yeah, looking at Bogut's injury, does that get you nervous that –
no, you hate to see injuries. We're locked into Houston, and it's a shame for Andrew. I had Andrew in Milwaukee, and he's a big part of Golden State. They've had for a team that might have 50 wins for the first time in 12 or 13 years, they've had a up and down season, and you always hate to hear it when players get hurt.
Yeah.
What's your last night You talked about playoff atmosphere and how that really wasn't yet playoff atmosphere. And I think you'll agree with the arena and the home court advantage, the fans, that wasn't quite yet as high as they can go. And it's going to be, we remember from the recent trips to the playoffs, the place, you can go ahead and click it up another few notches in the arena. The great home court advantage it already is, it gets better.
No, I know, and there are some great arenas.
Because you've been here on the other bench.
And believe me, I know it's the Moda Center is something special, and in the playoffs, it's going to be rocking. And that's why I said the fans are the ones that generate the emotion as much as anything in the playoffs. I mean, everybody is geared in. I mean, people start cheering 20 minutes before the game. I mean, there's an electricity in the air, and the players feel that in warm-ups. And you walk out on the court, and it's like, okay, this is it. And the intensity is there at the beginning, and it's sustained throughout, and it's at a fever pitch. Don't get me wrong, the energy in the building against Golden State was phenomenal, and as much as you hope for. But I always have a hard time comparing when in December or January you say, well, that was like a playoff game. Well, it was a great game, but it's not a playoff atmosphere.
And that we were talking about, just so fans know, you were on the Dallas bench, of course, here during the big Brandon Roy fourth quarter comeback. Any similarities between this team and the Dallas team that you were on the bench and you guys went and won the title?
In some ways, that team was more of a veteran team. You have Jason Kidd and Dirk and Jason Terry and Sean Marion. It was much more of a veteran team. Deshaun Stevenson started for us. We weren't playing a lot of young guys. So in that way, it's very different. Style of play, I would say it's somewhat similar.
And maybe exceeded expectations.
Well, that would probably be the one. You take personnel and style of play out of it. The fact that everybody wanted to play us in the playoffs, we hadn't,
including Portland.
Everybody. 75% of the people were picking Portland to beat us.
Right.
And so in that respect, I've already heard where, one columnist said everybody wants to play Portland, and Jeff Van Gundy said that Houston got a favorable matchup and things like that. And that's all well and good. Everybody needs to have their opinions, particularly in the media. You got to pick somebody. That's part of the job. But I think from that standpoint, I think we're very confident of what we can do. I think we've, from our standpoint, we hadn't beaten some teams, and all of a sudden we beat Chicago at Chicago. We beat Memphis, beating Golden State last night. So we've had some quality wins. I think we're on the right track, and we like our position.
The top 8 in the West, is this as good as it gets that you have seen, or has there been better years?
This is, I'd have to go through the seasons, but you have teams like Memphis, for example. Let's say Memphis gets in on the 8th seed, and Memphis with Marc Gasol is as good a team as they were a year ago and 2 years ago, and to me that's amazing. You look at Dallas, take us out of the equation. You look at a team like Dallas that still has Dirk Nowitzki playing at a level that he hasn't played at in 4 or 5 years, and Vince Carter and Sean Marion and Monte Ellis. I mean, and those are the 7-8 seeds.
Yeah.
It's you got a team like Golden State that advanced last year and is just as good as they were or better than they were last year. The West is remarkable.
You talked a minute ago we were talking about Houston, about teams wanting other teams. I can tell you this, Damian Lillard has said he wanted Houston. And the Patrick Beverley stuff that went on after the last meeting in Houston, where Patrick kind of called out Damian, said he was whining. Damian kind of went back at him, and that's going to be a good matchup. And Beverley back playing and looks to be healthy. He looked like he was playing well tonight. Do you look for that to be a key matchup?
Oh, there are key matchups up and down the roster. Damian's important to our success. Beverley gives them a little swag to their game. So the chippiness of a playoff series, when we get to game 5, 6, and 7, if it goes that far, it's that will add. It'll heighten after every game. I mean, you guys know you have seen that, but when you're playing in a playoff series, I saw Nick Nick is taking a challenge with the Chandler Parsons matchup, and so you go up and down. There's going to be, I think there are going to be a lot of storylines.
All right, we'll take a break. I have a couple questions about Robin Lopez when we come back. Our final segment of Trailblazers Courtside. The head coach Terry Stotts is here, taking some of your questions as well. Still time. We'll get a few more of those in. Hashtag TV Courtside. Back with more after this. Fans playoff tickets are available right now. Rose Quarter box office online at trailblazers.com. Of course, we are counting down to the playoffs and talking about them a little bit tonight with the head coach Terry Stotts. Our final segment, about 3.5 minutes in the segment. Coach, quickly, I wanted to get to some things. We had a lot of questions about Robin Lopez. People love him in this town, as you know.
So do I.
Yes, we all do. Robin, a heady player, Stanford guy. He never seems to get into foul trouble, very rarely. He's wise about where he uses his fouls, and I think that's body positioning as well. Vital in the series, obviously that continues.
Well, it does, and it helps that hopefully we'll have Joel Freeland back for the playoffs. But Robin has been an extremely important part of our success this year, and playing Dwight, I don't think we'll leave him on an island, just say go guard him. I think that's asking a little bit too much of him. But I tell you, he does everything that we ask. He's at both ends of the floor. We brought him in to have a defensive center, and his contributions at the offensive end have been very important to us.
Yeah. Now, this is the time of year. Last year at this time, 13 coaches. There were 13 coaching changes in the NBA. Looking at, the teams that win, even last year, some of the winners, they had coach changes. Do you think NBA coaches get too much of the blame when things don't go right? And all these, I couldn't believe last year, 13 coaches.
Well, coaching changes are part of the job. And, whether ultimately the buck stops here. And, I hope I'm back next year.
We hope you are too.
Because Mark Jackson, there's a lot of rumors going around in Golden State that he may be in trouble.
No, one of the things I've learned in all my years in the NBA is you really don't know what's going on within an organization. There's so many dynamics within the organization: players, coaches, management, fans, owners. There's just so many things in play. And I think it's very difficult to judge things from the outside as to the decisions that are being made from within. Believe me, every team is doing what they think is in the best interest of their team. And unfortunately, for me and other coaches, that it's a tenuous profession. And we know that. We get paid well, but we know that going into it. And you can't worry about it. You just you move on. You do the best job possible, and that's it.
Well, you should be on a very, very short list for Coach of the Year. 20-game turnaround, you can't argue with that. I know you don't have to say anything to that, but that's absolutely the case. Finally, we got 1 minute left in the show. Wednesday nights, you still have a game left. We haven't talked about it. Clippers in town. Depending on what happens with the Houston game, obviously that will dictate would you like to give some guys some rest Wednesday?
If Houston were to win tonight, so in other words that there's no shot at the 4 seed, I think we'll rest people. The one thing for sure is that the 4 guys who have started all season, they're going to start.
Right.
It's a badge of honor to play 82. It's a badge of honor to start 82. So those 4 guys will definitely start. How much they play in the event that we know for sure that the 4 seed is unattainable, we will definitely limit their minutes.
Coach, thank you so much for stopping by and spending time with us. The head coach, Terry Stotts. Folks, thanks for your questions as well. We'll talk to you Wednesday. Blazers taking on the Clippers, game 82, and then it's on to the second season. Good night, everybody.